Okay, we are live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment here while we bring on Facebook, bring on those meta peoples. They're peoples too, and they're near and dear to our hearts. And these Instagram folk, meta, but I repeat myself, and it looks like we're good. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast on a Labor Day edition. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, first of all, sorry I couldn't make it last night. Thanks to you and Scott for holding down the fort. But, bro, we heard from Shawn Payton today because it is, of course, officially regular season game week one. Like that began today. So we got to hear from Coach. But first things first, I wanted to get your take on him kind of not going way out of his way to correct the record, but correcting the record on some of these recent Courtland Sutton rumors relative to the trade that wasn't on Brandon Ayuk. Break it down.
Yeah, first of all, it's good to have you back, Chad. Hope you had a good holiday weekend. It's always good to, be the football priest in action. Basically, we didn't talk about it Thursday night on the podcast, but it broke while we were potting. Diana Rossini of ESPN reported that the Niners offered a third-round pick to the Broncos for Courtland Sutton. If they would have made that trade, they then would have traded Brandon Ayuk to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Broncos said no. So the deal fell apart. Today, Shawn Payton, the first media availability since that rumor dropped, he was asked about it, and I quote, I'll give you the exact quote and then my interpretation of that quote. I'm going to say in the last 3 months, there have been multiple teams call about Courtland. He's a good football player. It's a little bit of a stretch relative to the specifics. I read the same thing you read, and I would say we didn't get nearly as far down the road as what may have been reported. It's insignificant. For me to comment on every call that comes into general manager George Payton or myself would be ludicrous. So maybe Rossini took a leap of faith in saying that it was they did offer a third. It could have been less compensation. Maybe it seemed like it was more of a negotiation when it was just a exploratory talk, Chad. But in the end result was the Broncos did not trade Courtland Sutton, and they gave him a revised contract with added incentives. So it's a non-story.
Yeah, or it could just simply be that her source fed her a little bit of BS, like overhyped some of the info. But honestly, the biggest takeaway for me is yet another example of how much Shawn Payton does read the press clippings, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's on Twitter, he's reading the news, he's reading the articles, and what the implications of that are, I'm not making a comment on. But it is curious because we're not used to that, really. I mean, we're talking about Vic Fangio, who'd probably like my grandpa, dude. Like when it comes to being on social media, he'd be like, "Oh, show me how to create a user profile or whatever." And you're like, "Grandpa, come on." But not Shawn Payton, dude. He's on top of stuff. What's up, Sam Bam? Great to see you, bro. Thank you so much for starting things off tonight with a very generous super chat. Hope you've had a great, and that goes for everybody. I'll echo Zach. Everybody, hope you've had a great Labor Day weekend. Everybody making it home or where you're going to safe and sound. Sam Bam says, evening, guys. It's officially game week. Broncos going to go at least 9-8, sneak into the playoffs, and Bo will be in the top 3 for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Go Broncos. Honestly, and thank you, Sam, brother. On that topic, Zach, the only guy, and I could end up being way wrong on this because I was so wrong on CJ Stroud. Not like I was saying he was going to suck, but just that, Ohio State quarterbacks highly drafted have to kind of prove it to me. But now that streak's been snapped and the juju has been dispersed and it's gone. But I was wrong on that. So it's entirely possible I'm wrong on this. But honestly, I think it comes down to Bo Nix or Caleb Williams, dude. Seriously. And so the question is Caleb Williams that much of a talent? Is he that just dynamic and over the top to kind of not overcome, but to elevate himself higher than Bo Nix being in a Shawn Payton system and a quarterback cozy situation with Shawn Payton?
You're right. I think there's a lot of bias too when it comes to Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, the slam dunk, best choice in the draft according to many. Where Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback taken, and many argue, Chad, that he shouldn't have been a first-round pick. So he has an uphill battle to build the same national name cachet as Caleb Williams. I could see Malik Neighbors being in the mix for O'Roy, Marvin Harrison Jr., but they go 9-8. They make up the playoffs. Bo Nix's rookie season, that is a massive, massive success, Sam, and I would sign up for that in a heartbeat.
Oh, dude, people would be going crazy. I mean, it's been some lean years in the Mile High City since Peyton hung up his cleats. David, the Papa Bear McElrath checking in also early before we even went live with the super chat. These are ride or die members of our community. Love you, big dog. Hope you're doing well. And his message tonight, good evening, Broncos country, Chad, Zach, Deacon, Scott. Hashtag game still hella strong. 12-5 or plus. Hashtag God bless the USA. Buckham ×3. MHH for life. Denver Broncos for life. Let's see. Hold on. SEAL Team 6. Okay. Oh, Knicks. So, my bad. I screwed up the pun. SEAL Team Knicks. Hashtag Nixon to find out. I like that one. Nixon to find out. Thank you, David.
Yeah, the shouts to Michaela there on the SEAL Team. Nick Scott and I talked about all the funny puns on Bo Nix's name. But appreciate you, David, as always. And we talked about 9-8 being a massive success, Chad. They went 12-5. My God. Pandemonium in a good way in the Mile High City.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, just getting back to the playoffs would be very sweet. But, Zach, to me, the sweetest thing of all, right? There's a reason why they call it sweet revenge. There would be nothing sweeter to me than just seeing all these hot take artists who slam the Bo Nix pick, just eating heaps and heaps of sriracha or sweet and sour or their favorite condiment, because that is something when the day comes, Zach, I will savor. And hey, bold prediction, not the first time I've said it, but Bo Nix will not be a bust. Bo Nix is not going to be one of those guys that 5 years from now we're laughing about or lamenting in the same way we did Drew Lock and laughed about in the same way we did Paxton Lynch.
No, not at all. And, he hasn't played a game yet. He has a lot to prove. We understand that. We're not trying to come off like too big of homers here, but I genuinely feel, and I think you genuinely feel as well, Chad, the list of Broncos quarterbacks, the carousel. Remember the fan have the jersey with all the names listed on the back. That ends now. That ends with Bo Nix. He is finally the answer.
String Guy, what's up, bro? Thank you for being religiously in the chat every single night, contributing to the conversation. I saw this, and I wanted to grab it real fast. He says, hi, Chad, Zach, MHH. Scott and Nick this morning on Broncos for Breakfast had a pretty bleak prediction for Denver's season, like 6 wins or something. Damn. Do you guys agree with that assessment? Now, in all fairness, I have not listened to that episode because I was in a vehicle driving back from a remote spot in the Rocky Mountains with my entire family. And after many, many years of doing this, they don't play listening to Broncos podcasts in the car. Music is the best I can do. My kind of music is the best I can do. As soon as I turn on a Shawn Payton press conference, as soon as I turn on a Broncos podcast, it's like, they just don't play that. So I haven't heard it yet, but no, I don't agree with that. Zach, your thoughts?
Don't play, Chad. You were playing Bridge the Gap the entire drive, and they were absolutely loving it.
No, they're sick of that too, dog.
Okay. Thought I would give you a shout and a plug anyway. That's Scott said that's true. They went 6-11. I didn't see the pod either. That's obviously their opinion. It is a tough schedule. It's a tough first quarter of the season with all the defenses they play, and obviously the revenge narratives. It's tough week 1 matchup for Bo Nix at Seattle. I don't necessarily agree with 6-11. I could see 8-9 again. I could definitely see 9-8 if Bo Nix clicks. I can even see 10-7. But and I'll hold true to this, if Shawn Payton could wrangle 8 wins out of Russell Wilson and I believe a lesser roster in many areas, I don't see them being much worse than that in 2024.
I don't see them being worse than where they finished last year, 8 wins. And you go, well, but you're losing out on that. It's a stiffer schedule, arguably. And you're missing out on that clutch gene factor that for all of his faults and the issues last year, at least Russ, when the chips were down in a few games anyway, he turned it on. You're losing that. But you got to remember, very similar, we've forgotten what it's like to not have to be in a hole in the fourth quarter. Like the Tim Tebow season, you're in a hole. He pulled a rabbit out of a hat every fourth quarter. And you're like, wow, we're whistling past the graveyard. And then Peyton Manning comes and you're like, used to being up by 2 scores at halftime when you stand up out of your easy chair to go grab a beer during, with Bo Nix, I'm not saying it's going to be like that per se, but you're not going to be constantly digging out of a hole to open things up. I'm feeling much more optimistic about this than maybe Scott and Nick are, but you know what? They're a lot more. One of the reasons their show is, I think, as good as it is, one of the reasons, Zach, is that they do complement each other in the sense that they're very black and white about things. They're very pragmatic. They are not as susceptible to, I don't know. I wouldn't say hype. I wouldn't say, uh, being fans or anything like that. I would say it's more about you got to show it to them before they're coming out on that limb. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't flash a gorgeous peach or whatever at the end of that limb. It was like, no, dude, they've got to see that there's something there. Like, okay, we're going to go ahead and like go out on that limb. And that hasn't happened yet. So for guys like them, it's all good. I understand why they're saying, show me first, show me.
Yeah, I think them with the Broncos, and feel free to clarify, Scott, is like me with people in general. Instead of innocent until proven guilty, they're guilty until proven innocent. You really have to show that you're worthy of being praised and worthy of having the hype around you. But it's interesting. I kind of want maybe on Thursday's show, we go through the schedule, you and I, Chad, game by game, and give our own prediction.
Would love it. The Duchess from the top rope.
Thank you.
Love it.
Wow.
We're very blessed and very fortunate to have Michaela Parker in our community and in our lives. And thank you so much, Michaela. It means the world to us. You are a bona fide Mount Rushmore Super Chat superstar for a reason. She says, Zach, howdy, fam. I love you all very much. Broncos country. Let's bow. That's with a B, Zach.
We love you too, Michaela, wholeheartedly. Thank you so, so much. And, I say it every time, but I'm so happy to see you with so much excitement and enthusiasm around the Broncos and the quarterback, Bo Nix, and everything. So exciting season in store. We're happy to have you on board for yet another year.
I just evolved back to the overall mood and vibe. And Michaela was kind of a great, she was emblematic of that mood and vibe pre-draft, which is we just got burnt by Russ. It was what are we on 8 seasons? I'm starting to lose track. I'm missing the playoffs. Okay, whatever it is. And you don't know if they're going to get their quarterback in the draft. And the best thing we could hope for was that they had traded for Zach Wilson. So Broncos country was staring down the barrel of a 2024 season with Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson as their best hope for relevance and anything to look forward to. Then the draft happened. But that little window of time, Zach, it was tough sledding. But Bo Nix, here's the thing to remember too, is Bo Nix didn't come in here like a traditional rookie, Zach, and kind of win some, lose some. And then, he did steadily build up momentum as time went on, but it wasn't 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward. Frankly, it is for most rookie quarterbacks. And that's just the way human beings learn, even the most elite, talented quarterback athletes on the planet. Bo Nix, whether it's Zach, it's a combination. I'll just say it's a combination of his talent, combination of his 61 starts, his experience, his age and relative maturity, football IQ, all those things combined to show and display and reveal a quarterback from the drop that was as advertised. That was the biggest thing. Like Shawn Payton said, and I didn't want to hear it. I'll be honest with you. You guys know this. I didn't want to hear it early on that, we're going to pit him in an open competition. Well, when will you know? Well, it's like, hey, we want to see it. What is it? We want to see him rise to the surface. And I told you guys, the cream will rise to the top. Watch. And it happened. And Zach, the fact that he has been as advertised throughout gives me the confidence to be optimistic.
As advertised and then some. I mean, he's still a rookie quarterback in the NFL, but yet for my money, he's made no mistakes in any preseason game, pretty much no mistakes in any training camp practice, took no sacks, threw no picks, no fumbles. He looked really good in his limited action. I mean, if the worst critique, Chad, is that he missed a throw high in his first ever preseason game, that is a damn good showing for number 12 overall.
First throw ever, too, if memory serves, that headache ball to Greg Dulcich, right?
The seam ball, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Duchess, we love you. Let's bow indeed. Can't wait.
Thank you, Michaela.
By the way, not this weekend, but the next. Can't wait. It's going to be so fun. Jeremy, what's up, dude? Jumping in on Facebook. Thank you for being with us tonight and for the support. He says, what's up, guys? Long time. At least 10 wins, Jeremy's saying behind Bo, because Bo knows football. Swooping the old Bo Jackson catchphrase from his Nike campaigns. But hey, that's a topic that obviously Zach is weighing heavy on Broncos country's mind, like win totals, etc. So, hey, 10 wins would not, I'm telling you right now, would not surprise me. 6 wins would actually surprise me. I would be surprised by 6 wins.
Yeah, I'm really thinking we have to do a schedule prediction Thursday. It's our last chance before the season starts, but Jeremy, I love the optimism. I kind of feel like 10-7 is their ceiling for the season. Realistically, if Bo Nix clicks and they get some other rookie contributions, really tough schedule. Teams are going to throw a lot more than Bo Nix saw in the preseason. But if they go 10-7, Shawn Payton, certified Hall of Famer, Chad.
All right, indeed, guys. Quick pause for just 1 second here, because there is a member of our community. You don't see him live in the chat sounding off so much, but a consistent daily listener, viewer of the Mile High Huddle podcast. And it was his birthday recently. His name is Jeremy Tollefson. We want to wish him a happy belated birthday. If we could sing the song without getting a copyright infringement for you, Jeremy, we do it. But just know, happy birthday, big dog. Thank you for listening every single day. We really appreciate you.
Happy birthday, Jeremy. I appreciate your support, as Chad said. And if one day hop in the chat, let us know how you feel. Be happy to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you, buddy. Okay, segueing back, we've got Michael Davis. Something's on Michael's mind. He says with the super chat, thank you, bro. Michael. He says, priests, let's play this season with confidence without fear of results, meaning fear of wins, losses. Play as a tough out. I see. Let Nix prove he's our franchise success for me. Yeah, dude. I mean, in years gone by, Zach, including Russ, the first year, it took about a month of the season for this feeling, the old familiar, to kind of settle in. Old familiar meaning like post Super Bowl 50 on, but that is kind of like, I don't know, not that butterfly feeling of excitement or, nervous excitement, let's say, but kind of like the dread, how is the quarterback going to screw things up this time around? I don't see it, dude. Bo Nix is going to bump his head. In fact, Bo Nix, Thomas Hall had a great analytics breakdown today. We should get to it, not right this second, but here in a minute, we'll talk about it. But he went back through the last 10 years of NFL rookie quarterbacks, highly drafted quarterbacks, and kind of ran the numbers to basically try and predict with some actual something there. I mean, a prediction is a prediction after all, right? You're pulling a rabbit out of a hat. You're predicting something that at this moment in time is not real. It's not part of reality, but he bases it on something real, and it's real interesting. We'll get to it, but I'm stoked on Bo Nix. I think he's somewhere around 4,000 yards, north of 20 touchdowns. Broncos fans are going to be happy.
Well, I still have an axe to grind with Michael a little bit. I know you weren't there last night, but Michael basically said that PS2 is a non-factor, and Scott and I got kind of into it about that. So that aside, neither here nor there. I think the Broncos, for the first time that I can recall covering this team chat, they're playing with no expectations. If they have a bad season, they're expected to have a bad season. If they go on to have a Texans-type season like last year, then it'll be a massive win. So in a sense, Michael, there's already no pressure. People are expecting nothing. That's why the Vegas win total projected is 5.5. For me, I would smash the over on that. I think they're going to win a lot more than 5.5 games. But regardless, they're going to play loose. It's a developmental year for Bo Nix. And if teams take them lightly on a week-to-week basis, they're going to surprise a lot more than they're going to disappoint.
I want to read this from this is from one of Nick's most recent articles, and he was citing an interview Peyton did with Jeff Duncan down in his former stomping grounds out of New Orleans. And this is kind of in response to a topic or a question around the 5.5 over under that the odds makers have set for the Broncos, meaning place your bets on whether or not the Broncos will win over 5.5 wins or under, right? That's 5.5. And it signifies obviously very low regard around at least the odds makers. And in a recent interview with Jeff Duncan, this is what Nick writes. Peyton said, quote, "I love being the underdog. The next time I only win 6 games in a season will be the first," close quote. So he's saying, Zach, let him sleep, let him hate. And his message to Broncos fans is, look, I've never won only 6 games ever. I think his career low is 7 as a head coach. And that was one of maybe his second or third year in New Orleans, Zach.
And remember what he said a few months ago, that he has 2 middle fingers and has gotten better with time about not using them, Chad. So he's always has that feisty nature. Obviously, he reads his own press clippings. That's why I'm saying if Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson can win 5 games, I think Bo Nix and Sean Payton can manage a little more.
So here's for what it's worth, and then I'm going to grab the Ronk here. Sean Payton, his floor as a head coach has been 7-win seasons. So in New Orleans, he posted, let me start here. Payton, all right, 10 wins year 1, followed by 7, followed by 8, followed by 13. That was the year they won the Super Bowl. Followed by 11, followed by 13, followed by 7, followed by 11. And then this was that kind of period where people started to wonder if he was going to survive his tenure in New Orleans, because he had 3 straight years, Zach, 2014 through 16, of 7-win seasons. And then kaboom, 11 wins, 13 wins, 13 wins, 12 wins. And then Breeze retires. He goes one more time with the Saints before stepping down with 9 wins. So that's just a comprehensive look at his the kind of the ups and downs of him as a head coach. Obviously, a lot more ups in there than downs, and never less than 7 wins. The Runk. What up, bro? Love you. He says, good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Bo time. Bo leave. God bless Bo Nix, and go Bo Broncos. I love it, dude. Let's go with the puns.
Yeah, I love it, Michael. Thank you. And Chad, I'm probably reading way too deeply into this, but I'm looking at Sean Payton's coaching record as well. 06 and 07, his first 2 years in New Orleans, he went 10-6 and then 7-9, 8-8. And then in his 4th year, he went 13-3. I've noticed in his coaching record, if he has a down season for Sean Payton, he usually comes back strong the next year. So I think people are going to be surprised by Denver's record by January.
Absolutely. I agree, dude. And it might not be playoffs, but I just have I don't know, dude. This is my nature. This is why at a certain point, it's like I sound probably, for the religious listeners of the show that have been with us for many, many years now, it's like, okay, Jensen's always optimistic. Kelberman's always optimistic before the season. Well, this time there does just happen to it feels different. All right. And it looks different. I think it'll be different. Like my dad would say, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like whatever, then it's a duck. Lady D from the top rope.
Thank you so much.
The ladies of MHH flexing out, leading the way. Amazing. Love you so much. She says, hey, Chad and Zach and Scott, we're going to do great this year. Let others doubt, and we laugh as we win. Go Broncos. I believe in Bo. Hashtag MHH for life. It's a beautiful message. I love it. I love hearing it, because you have to expect success in order to achieve it. So let's keep positive. Let's stay positive and focused on it until there's a reason not to be. Like, this is not a roster, Zach, without its warts. We know that. But if Bo Nix is who the Broncos think he is, a franchise quarterback, then you now have that tide, Zach, that raises all ships. It floats all the boats if he's who you think he is. So far, I know no meaningful game or games that count, whatever you want to call it, but so far, everything we've seen, the evidence points in that direction. It's circumstantial, albeit, but it's pointing in that direction. Would a jury convict? Probably not. Not yet, because it's circumstantial. But it's coming. It's coming. You're going to get that eyeball witness here very, very soon.
Yeah, it's so important the Broncos start the season off with momentum if they want to make a playoff push. And, I'm with you as well, Chad. It's something I've been saying, and I can't really explain it other than it just feels differently. And this is from someone who's been covering the team only since 2016, but I've seen my share of down seasons, and it just doesn't feel like the same this time around. But I need this week 1 win in Seattle. Like, I need freaking air. I just want nothing more. I would love to follow that up the next week by beating Russ and the Steelers, but I really hope, Chad, they can go 1-0 to start the season.
And like we've talked about a few times on the show, it's not been easy lately for the Broncos winning up there. So it would snap that ignominious streak. It would snap. When is the last time? I'm gonna double check this real fast.
Even going back to the Super Bowl, it's just a bad juju.
When's the last time the Broncos won a season opener, Zach?
2018. Did they lose to Seattle or they beat Seattle in that Case Keenum?
Oh, yeah, but that was in Denver.
They won the 2021 opener, too, because they were undefeated at the meet and greet.
That's true. That's true with Fangio.
Teddy B.
Yep, 3-0. You're right. Yep. So I would say 2021 was the last time you got a week 1, a season opening victory, because you lost to the Seahawks in Russ's first year. And then, of course, last year, we all know how it shook out with the Raiders.
Jimmy G, man. Not this year, though, Chad. The streak's ending this year.
I agree, dude. Quick shout real fast. Big Earn. What's up, brother? Broncos country only. Bo Nix, let's go. We're right there with you, big dog. Right there with you. Quote of the day in the hizzy. Good to see you, buddy.
Quote.
What's up, guys? Long time. I feel like we are going to kill this year. 9 wins or more. I just pray we kick the you-know-what out of the Raiders this year. Yeah. Talking about streaks, that can be suffered to exist and continue no longer. I mean, it was bad enough, 16 straight to the Chiefs. That was bad enough. But like the Raiders, the freaking Raiders, and oh man, this really sucks, dude. When I think about it, it's like waking up in the morning, something bad happened in your life, and then you go to sleep and you're able to kind of forget about the bad thing. But then as you're waking up, the first kind of hint of consciousness, it comes back to you. You're like, oh, I'm waking up into a world where this happened. You know what I'm saying? People have maybe been through a thing or two. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel anytime I have to be reminded that Josh McDaniels is undefeated against the Broncos, dude. Oh.
See, Chad, it's to me, that's my thing. It's like, it's not just the fact they haven't beaten the Raiders in years. It's how they've lost to them and the circumstances, like the Rich Bisaccia year, Josh McDaniels. I mean, this year they have Gardner Minshew at quarterback and Antonio Pierce as the head coach. This is the year. We said it last year about Kansas City. We're saying it this year about Vegas. This is the year. Ralph is saying the same thing. As long as we beat the Raiders this year, I'm happy. It will end this season.
Let's go. I'm here for it. Ralph, thank you, big dog. Really good to have you in the chat tonight, my friend. Appreciate the support and contributing to the conversation. We're at 26 minutes, so I'm going to do a couple of really heads up things. Make sure, guys, you're following my partner here, Zack Kelberman, on Twitter, at Kelberman NFL, myself, at Chad and Jensen. Our podcast has a main account on X, on Twitter. Follow us there, at the MHH Pod. Very important that you do. Also follow at Mile High Huddle on X. And if you want to get one of these hats, you want to get a t-shirt, it's not little something to help support the cause, help support the brand, mhhmerch.com. And don't forget, we're also on Instagram, as the people in the live chat like Fitzgerald, Cherry, Interstellar, C. Elliott, Drewski, amongst many, many others will confirm for you. So a couple of small reminders here. And Zach, as we dive back here into the chat, there's a few comments that I see that I want to grab, but first I just want to get this Thomas article. I want to get your thoughts on it. Okay. So this is him, as I mentioned, going through the past 10 years, and for what it's worth, the maximum completion percentage for a rookie quarterback over that span, 68.3%. The bottom end is 52.8%. Okay. Yards, let's see. Well, I'm not going to go through the per game. We'd be on here too long. So I'll just cut straight to it. All right. This is what, based on his analytical examination of the past, taking a little bit of what we know about Bo Nix, a little bit about what we know of Shawn Payton, and using that to formulate what I would argue is one of the most credible predictions you will find. Okay. Bo Nix, rookie year, 3,907 yards, 63.7 completion percentage, 23 touchdown passes to 14 interceptions, a passer rating of 94.5, 280 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Zach, that is Thomas's prediction for Bo Nix 2024.
I was with him, and I'm nodding my head in agreement, and I agree for the most part. It's much better than what ESPN predicted. We talked about it, I think, last week, Chad, but just to go through it again, 62.3% completion, 3,155 yards, 17 touchdowns, 13 picks, 190 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. I think the rushing yards will be up. I think the interceptions, though, with ESPN and Thomas, it's going to be down, Chad. He's never had more than 7 in a season. He threw 3 last year at Oregon to 45 touchdowns. Through no in the preseason, no in training camp, I just can't see him throwing 13 or 14 picks.
I'm with you. And I would guess this is, first of all, as I mentioned, based on just the metrics he dug out of the last 10 years. And I'm guessing that's him just trying to be as true to the data as he could be, right? Like, but I don't see that either. And I also see him actually rushing for more than 280 yards, for what it's worth, because just in 2 meaningless games where Shawn Payton's not trying to telegraph much of anything at all to future opponents by way of Bo Nix film, there was a lot of RPO stuff happening there, dude. I think Shawn Payton has some RPO cards up his sleeve that is just hasn't quite reality.
We saw some in the preseason already, Chad, some of the design plays for Bo Nix, and that's no game planning, and that's the Broncos being intentionally vanilla. So you're right. I see the rushing yards and totals, touchdowns should be up. I just can't see the interceptions being that high.
The other thing is, I think Bo Nix is going to pass for something like 25 or 26 touchdowns. And you guys heard me, if it wasn't last week, it was the week before, talking about how, a 26 touchdown season by a Broncos quarterback is actually very significant, and how before Peyton Manning arrived, that would have been the second best quarterback touchdown season in Broncos history. So 26 is not nothing. It might be kind of nothing relative to, some of the Star Wars quarterbacks of the modern day. But getting that anything north, Zach, honestly, from a rookie quarterback, anything north of 20 touchdown passes is a very encouraging predictor of the future for that guy. But I predict it's going to be a little bit more than what even Tom has there. Lady D jumping in again.
Thank you, Deanna. Wow.
From the top rope. We love you.
Thank you.
He says, I'm with Zach. I want to see this. I want to win the Seattle game. I'm stoked on Bo. I have faith. We win with him. Hashtag MHH for life, Zach.
Yeah, just because, Deanna, and thank you so much again. I mean, ever since the Russell Wilson trade and the week 1 loss, I have been inundated on Twitter, my mentions, my DMs, with salty Seahawks fans who do nothing but troll. And I just want this little bit of ammunition, as it were, to kind of talk some smack back. Nice. But Chad, I'll say one thing about Bo Nix's stat line to put a cherry on that. If he has the same stat line as Russell Wilson did last season, the Broncos make the playoffs. Not a hot take, because he won't have the fumbles. He won't take the sacks. He won't take the offense off the field. What was it, 26-8 TD to INT for us?
Yes.
If he has that, the Broncos are winning 9-10 games going to the playoffs.
Well, let me double check that on the interceptions. I think you're right, but let me just double check.
Dude, they're 28-6.
26 and 10. 26 and 10. Or no, I'm sorry. I screwed that up. 26-8. You were right.
If Bo Nix has that, the Broncos are winning north of 9 games. My opinion.
Agreed. I agree. Lady D, we love you. Big Earn saying 4,000 yards, 34 touchdowns. Now that would be insane. 1 interception. Go Bo Nix. Hey, that, he'll be picked off more than once. That I could promise you, but I don't see it being out of control. And String Guy saying that the Tom projections he sees as too low. 70% completion, a QB rating of 135 under Shawn Payton, 7 rushing touchdowns. I would not be surprised on that last one there, String Guy, that Bo Nix ends up stacking something like 30 to 32 total touchdowns when you include his rushing scores and throwing scores. There's going to be some offense happening in Denver this year. That's something people need to get through their heads, dude. This is not going to be not coitus interruptus. This is not going to be pigskin interruptus for 17 weeks.
I want to get to the Jonas Griffith story, Chad, before we wrap up tonight. I also want to get your opinion, because Scott and I talked about it last night. What do you think the stat line for Bo Nix would be in week 1 against Seattle? I said about 220, a touchdown and a pick. Scott says 220, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick, I believe.
Ooh, that's yeah, I see it. I'm keeping in mind here that, again, preseason, blah, blah, they got points on 6 out of 7 possessions. That's 30 points total that he contributed to as the quarterback. I don't have his full stats right in front of me right now, like cumulative from the preseason. But I'm going to say, something like, I think you guys are right in the ballpark, but I wouldn't be surprised if they actually end up passing for a little bit more yardage. But it just depends on whether or not Shawn Payton's able to get that rushing game up and off the ground in week 1. I think they'll have a better chance, but that defense is going to first test Bo Nix to see if he indeed is not Russell Wilson relative to flooding the box and daring him to throw certain places. And if he makes them pay on a couple of those, they'll back off, and thus the rushing lanes will open up.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just curious. And Scott points out in the side chat, I'm glad he did, 220 yards in week 1 would project to 37-40 in 17 games. So much higher than Tom's projection, much higher than ESPN's projection. I hope he hits that number, Chad.
I do too. Naj, brother, what is good?
Thank you, Naj.
Can't wait to kick it with you in less than 2 weeks' time. Isn't that crazy? Less than 2 weeks' time. He says, hey, brothers, I'm expecting Bo to have some designed runs this week, and I also think Payton will have him take a deep shot early. Lots of experts picking us to get beat down by double digits this week. Let's shut them up. That to me is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Like, this is not the 2014 Seattle Seahawks. You know, this is sans Pete Carroll with Geno Smith. Like, guys, you know, that pumpkin or whatever, you know, struck midnight. It's reverted back to an actual pumpkin, not like this beautiful stagecoach. I don't believe that Geno Smith is the truth. I think it's going to be bad for Seattle this year, and that'll be the end of that. But they're not getting blown out. I don't see it. I don't see it, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Naj, I'm with you. They might not win the game. It's going to be tough, but they're not going to get blown out. I think both teams, it's going to be a defensive struggle. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, maybe sloppy type game, like a 17-14, 13-10 type affair. Any team could win it. I definitely don't see Shawn Payton coming out with all the bulletin board material they have, Chad, and all the hype and momentum. I don't see a double-digit loss in week 1.
I mean, they only went, and I say only, to illustrate, even with Pete Carroll, Zach, they won 9 games last year, which was good for third place in the NFC West. I don't think they're just some juggernaut that should automatically be given a double-digit expectation to blow out a road team, even a road team starting a rookie quarterback in the season opener.
Yeah, I mean, if they were the 49ers the Broncos were playing, or even Kansas City, I hate to say it, I could see a double-digit, prediction. But the Seahawks, with Mike McDonald, as good as he was in Baltimore, still a rookie first-time head coach, could go either way, Chad, this Sunday, excuse me.
We shall see. I think it's going to be a close one, and we'll save our official predictions for Thursday. But look, we also have to be pragmatic and face some of the facts that, it's a rookie quarterback making his first start. It's a young team. They're going to have to go through some trial by fire. But you're also dealing with a highly motivated head coach and a highly motivated quarterback in the sense, too, Zach, that not only does he want to start his NFL career off on the right foot, but he's got some bad juju up in that neck of the woods that he would also like to dispel. Absolutely. So I'm not sleeping on Peyton and Nix. I'm sorry. Brandon Williams, what's up, brother? When do you think they'll announce team captains, and who do you think the 5 or 6 might be? So, Zach, Shawn Payton talked about that today. We can expect something this week, obviously, but his quote on that, if I can find it, quote, in the next couple of days, here is a team. We'll sort through that. It's been pretty much the same schedule-wise. Generally, the first week prior to the first game, we announced that. That's something that at some point will be announced this week, close quote. Zach, who are the 5 or 6?
Top of my head on offense, Bo Nix, obviously, maybe Courtland Sutton or Garrett Bowles, maybe Quinn Miners, Mike McGlinchey, one of those linemen. On defense, I think Zach Allen could be a captain, PS2, and Singleton. Those are my 3 nominations for both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it is kind of a little bit more interesting this time because no Simmons, no Jewell, at least on defense, right? And no Russ. Bo Nix, I would still be surprised, even though he's a rookie, if you don't name your starting quarterback one of the team captains. Probably Courtland. Defense, man. Is Alex Singleton a leader, though? That's the thing. Look, Kareem was a leader. Simmons was a leader. I think Surtain, even if he's not quite there yet, that he'll get a captainship so as to kind of start speaking it into existence. Maybe Zach Allen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your specials guys. But it'll be fun to see, Brandon. We'll see how it shakes out. I bet you we'll know by Thursday.
I was going to say special teams. I forgot about that. Either Tremont Smith, the kick returner, Will Lutz, the kicker. Not too many options there, Chad.
Yeah. James Edwards, what's up, brother? Thank you for the generous super chat. Great to see you tonight, big dog. He says, love from the islands, brothers. Awesome, dude. Paradise says, I am so stoked to be opening in Seattle. I believe we will win and shut the pie holes of all those 12s. Spent 20 years in Pacific Northwest. The Sea Chicks can eat crow. Denver Broncos for life. Hashtag Bo Nix. Am I missing some subtext there, or is it just a fat thumb?
I don't know. Beats me. Let us know, James.
Your hashtag is what we're talking about. But, dude, thank you. Great stuff. Really appreciate you. Shutting the pie holes of those 12s, Zach.
Praying for it. I really am. This is a top 5 game on my calendar. I need the Broncos to win, man.
Yes, it's time to start turning the page. Well, here's the thing is Pearl says, well, but Courtland Sutton's not a leader. He kind of is. Like, I'm not trying to be contrarian here, Pearl. You know how much we love you here on at MHH. But he is looked to as a leader, and he is outspoken. And so is he a good leader? That's up for debate. But he is looked to as a leader. And I think the Broncos, especially with Zach, with the outgoing leadership regimes, let's just call it, with Simmons and Kareem on defense and Russ on offense, I would be surprised if Sutton is not expected or asked to by the Broncos be a team captain, be a leader.
Is it just me, or I haven't heard anything negative come out of Dove Valley about Courtland Sutton? It's not like a Jerry Jeudy or even Emmanuel Sanders. I really can't recall too much negative PR about Courtland, and I think he's appreciative to be in Denver still. I think he's happy to be with a quarterback that finally gets him and can get him some good numbers. So I think he is a leader, and I think he will step up into one if he's not quite there yet.
So the D stands for Denver. I got you. Thanks, James. Cool stuff. KB, what's up, Kenny, who's been holding it down with Eric on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast Friday nights, which has been great to see. Doing great, big dog. He says, if Javonte gets 100-plus yards in the first game, does that change your outlook on the season, Zach?
About the Broncos or about Javonte Williams?
I think he means just the Broncos, generally speaking.
If Javonte gets 100 yards in the first game, it means the Broncos probably won that game because they're doing enough to move the chains, keep Bo Nix in positive game script, and that leads to good things. So it would give me a good feeling because Scott and I talked about this on last night's show. The best thing the Broncos can do for Bo Nix is surround him with a strong running game on offense and a good defense on defense. We don't know about the defense with VJ, Chad, but if the running game gets going, Bo Nix is going to be much better for it.
For what it's worth, the only time Javonte's played there as a pro was his second year. It was 3 games before he got hurt in Seattle. And basically they sold out to stop him because the Seattle Seahawks knew everything there was to know about Russell Wilson. They sold out to stop the run. And they were especially salty about getting after Javonte because of all those, what are those clips called where he's trucking people on ESPN? I just had a brain fart. But you know what I'm saying? The clips of
Jacked up.
Yeah, or like get out. Yeah, exactly. So like they were after him. He had 7 attempts only that game, 43 yards rushing. But golly, he received 11. He received 12 targets as a receiver, of which he caught 11 for 65 yards. So he still totaled over 100 yards from scrimmage that game, Zach, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think angry runs, right, Chad?
Angry runs, that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny, in the chat. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking old school ESPN jacked up. We have Naj, 1999 super. Thank you so much, Naj, your second super, one of the OGs. And like Chad said, I cannot wait to kick it with you at the meet and greet in week 2. Naj asks, who do you bros see replacing P. Ryan's receiving production, especially on third down? To me, that's easy. I mean, all 3 or 4 running backs can catch passes, but Jaleel McLaughlin is the spark plug here. He is the Darren Sproles. He is the joker in the backfield. I think on obvious passing downs, Naj, or third downs, you're going to see Jaleel come on the field, but could be Estime catching passes. Javonte can catch passes. Blake Watson can catch passes. I think it's all going to be a village, Chad, to help raise the backfield.
Yeah, and let's not pretend like P. Ryan was some third down pass catching phenom to end off pass catching phenoms. Like, I'll look it up just as a reminder, and maybe I'll eat some crow here, but I doubt it. He had a total of he had more than I was thinking in my mind. So I'll eat some crow on this. But last year, so this is actually my bad. A very solid point. Zach, last year, as his one and only season in Denver, 56 targets, 50 receptions, 455 yards. Most of those were, in fact, on third down. So yeah. My answer to that, though, honestly, is Pookie has some soft hands that will be utilized. Shawn Payton traditionally is an RBBC guy, like it's a committee, but there's one guy usually that kind of has the lion's share of touches, but it's by shades, it's by fractions. But don't sleep on Jaleel, who worked his tail off and to improve his receiving chops. And Shawn Payton, dude, loves Jaleel McLaughlin. And Jaleel McLaughlin, in order to thrive because of his relative diminutive size, you can't plug him into a system. This isn't Philip Lindsay 2019, right? When everyone got the book on the Broncos and they just stuffed the box, and he still found ways to bust through 1,000 yards, dearly bought the second year, Philip Lindsay. This is not what this guy is. You need a quarterback who can help spread it out and keep it spread out. And then you now have the space for a shifty, twitched up, just talented pass catching running back like Jaleel has made himself into to thrive. So those are my two guys. And as Zach mentioned, every other Bronco guy on the running back in the room has some pretty good versatility.
And you're 100% right about P. Ryan. He was a good player, but was he the best receiving back or third down back of all time? No, it was an outlier. It was like bias. I don't want to say recency bias, Chad, but it was because of Russell Wilson checking the ball down constantly. I don't think Samaje, for as good as a player that he is now in Kansas City, will ever duplicate those numbers because that was just Russell Wilson being Russell Wilson.
Now, hold on. Get this. Yo, DB for life. Thank you for the super, big dog. Go Broncos. He says, you guys are awesome. No, you're
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, real fast. We're about out of time. Last year, Samaje, hold on, I got to find this. So he had a 4.5. Let me make sure I get this right. Okay, so he made $4.5 million last year. Okay. Hold on. Stay with me. Okay. That means, Zach, the Broncos paid him $90,000 per catch. $90,000 to be per reception to be their third down back. So
good gig if you can get it.
And even if you wanted to be a little bit more sympathetic or forgiving, all right, this cat had 53 attempts on the ground. So let's go. Hold on. Let me do the math one last time. So 53 and 50. So all right. So if you combined his touches, he made $44,000 basically per touch, per actual touch last year. That's not bad, dude. That's a good living. Yo, appreciate you, buddy.
He owes a Christmas card to Russell Wilson for sure, Chad. That's a lot of money to pay him, and I'm glad the Broncos ended up moving on.
Okay, guys, about out of time here. Eric Flynn, what's up, dude? Did you get your jersey? What's up? Let's see that sucker. Send us a profile pic. I think you got it for the misses, but send us some evidence that you received that, big dog. But guys, before we dip out of here, we got a couple of messages for you. This is honestly your last call for any burning questions, supers. Right now, a few messages first, though.
Another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/mile-high-huddle-pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-safe 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, please, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Okay, we've got confirmation. Eric, I did receive the jersey. Thank you, guys. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Hey, Sonny, appreciate the kind words, big dog. George Fox, appreciate you, my brother. And of course, you know, as I go through some of these shouts, Ronk is always so consistent in helping to punctuate each and every conversation live here. But a mile-high salute and a special shout-out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us keep the lights on tonight, starting with Sam Bam, love you, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, the Duchess, Michaela Parker, Jeremy Hild in the house. What up, bro? Michael Davis, the Ronk, the Lady D, twice. Quote of the day, what's going on? Ralph, awesome. Naj, multiples. Brandon Williams, James Edwards. Let's see. Yo, DB for life, and Eric Flynn. Appreciate each and every one of you. It's a great week, guys. Season, we're in it now. We're in it. We're in the rhythms. They'll be off tomorrow. Practice Wednesday, practice Thursday, practice Friday, game Sunday. Oh, baby, gut reaction on Sunday is going to be fire, regardless, Zach, of how the chips fall. It's going to be a blast. But Zach and I will be back Thursday to if we'll see what kind of news maybe shakes loose. If there's nothing too pressing, we of course have to do our head-to-head, and then of course, Zach, we'll see if we can't swing a little schedule prediction.
Yeah, really quickly, because we tease it on Twitter, I want to mention Jonas Griffith. I don't think we got to that, Chad.
Right, yeah. For the sake of looking ourselves in the eye at night, let's take care of it.
Basically, Shawn Payton, I'll make it quick, came out and said that doctors discovered an issue with Griffith. Griffith surgically repaired ACL. He tore his ACL last season, and that kind of led to his release. He'll have an injury settlement, and Griffith announced on social media, Chad, that he's undergoing another ACL surgery. I feel absolutely terrible for Jonas. Just cannot catch a break.
It's such a bummer, and I think it now makes me feel less like a crazy person, because watching the preseason tape, it was like, hey, Bailey made a couple of plays, but that 94-yard pick six, to me, was not enough to eclipse what Jonas Griffith did in the games I watched him. But turns out that he was having some problems still with that knee, and it's such a bummer, because for a guy like him who's undrafted, has to battle for every opportunity he's gotten up to this point, to basically be staring down the barrel, Zach, of 2 years now that he's going to have to forego. It's like such a it's basically kills his career. You know, like if Tim Patrick can go and be the exception that proves this rule, I hope he does. We all love Timmy P. I hope he succeeds in Detroit. But that rule is, you know, even if you're a number 1 overall pick, Zach, you miss 2 straight years, you're going to have a hard time getting back into the flow of things with the league. So big bummer for Jonas, wishing the best. And yes, guys, as Zach mentioned, as the Hashwinix is mentioning here, don't forget to hit those thumbs up. We need it. We need it. Just do it right now.
Thank you, Hatchwinnick. Thank you, everyone, tonight for tuning in. Like Chad said, we're off until Thursday. Fresh episodes on the MHH Network every single day. Until then, we'll see you then. Have a great start to your week. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.